The last perek in the last video is really important for understanding what went wrong in the end of this perek. Why Paro would have wanted to make his way through Israel, and why specifically Megiddo? At this point, I imagine that your guess is about as good as mine. We should be kind of on the same page over here. It makes sense. Paro wants to come through because this is a land bridge. This is where the Via Maris cuts through. A good place to be able to stop him for strategic reasons makes sense. It would be by Megiddo, where he's going to try to make his way through the Carmel passes, and that's where you can really ambush him and to try to stop him from making his way through. That all seems to make sense. Why does Yoshiyahu do this to begin with? And if he was right, and he was such an exceptional king from a spiritual standpoint, then why was he killed? Chazal teach us that apparently Yoshiyahu interpreted the passage that says that no sword should pass through our land, meaning we should be able to have peace and we shouldn't have enemies coming through our land and using our land if we're properly serving Hashem. And he said, hey, we are properly serving Hashem. I got rid of the Avodah Zarah. I even got rid of the Bamas. We shouldn't be allowing Egypt to pass through, keeping in mind that if Egypt passes through, chances are they're not just going to pass through and make their way back and that's it. We're never going to hear from them again. Okay, they're on their way through to try to help us short. And if that happens, if they go and they're successful, so that on their way back, they're going to keep control over this route. And that means that they're going to basically turn us into a vassal for Egypt. Okay, so it's going to have very strong influence. Their foreign influence and possibly even Avodah Zarah is going to make their way back into the land. So it could be that he even had very strong reasons to try to keep them out. That being said, he didn't listen to the Navi who told him that he's not going to succeed. And why wouldn't he succeed? If he was right, so shouldn't Hashem have just helped us? Why should he let this happen? So what? He's this weaker nation. We have Hashem. Zal teach us he didn't know that there were mizbachot that were still hidden behind the doors, meaning that they'd come in and check, and the doors would open up for the officials. They'd look around, they don't see any mizbeach, they don't see any avodah zarah or even bamas, and they leave. And they don't realize that it's because the doors were open. But as soon as they close them, that's where the avodah zarah is or the bama, and that's where these things that were also being held. So if that's going on, so then behind closed doors, so to speak, you really do have these things going on, and he didn't know about that. Maybe even like Lachish. Okay, I don't know. Either way, fascinating to think about. Because keeping in mind, it wasn't destroyed. The question if that was a Bama, like in other places, either way, right after him, it was all opened right back up and returned to use. Meaning, once Yoshiyahu was out of the picture, all this Avodah Zarah comes right back. On the one hand, he got rid of it, he abolished it, and things were either sealed off or dismantled. But as soon as he's out of the picture, it comes right back. How's it possible if you have such a real change that things just come right back? Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Yoshiyahu said to himself, since Paro Necho put his trust in idols, I'll prevail over him. What did Yoshiyahu rely? On the divine promise contained in the words, and no sword shall pass through your land. That's in Vayikra. What sword? Is it the warring sword? Is it already stated in the same verse, and I will give peace to the land? It must then refer to the peaceful sword. Yoshiyahu, however, did not know that his generation found little favor in the eyes of Hashem. That's from Masechet Ta'anit. Yoshiyahu didn't know that his entire generation worshipped idols. What went wrong? Why was it that they were still worshiping these idols even he tried so hard to get rid of it? Why did it all come flowing back as soon as he was out of the picture? Shouldn't, if he really made a stand, shouldn't it at least existed for a while after until someone else with a strong influence comes and changes it? Well, that's the thing. Yoshiyahu did the right thing. He got rid of the Avodah Zarah and even the Bamas. But that's not solving the problem. The problem is, why were they doing it to begin with? Meaning, you have to cure the illness, not care for each symptom. If someone comes to a doctor and he says that he has a headache and he has a throat ache and he has temperature, etc., right? So the doctor says, okay, well, you have a headache and temperature. Let's give you some Tylenol or Acamol. You have your throat is bothering you. I'm going to subscribe some tea, put some honey in there, some lemon juice, whatever it is, and this should help your throat, right? That's not good. He should send him for tests and check. The guy might have all kinds of things. He might need antibiotics, for example. And so if you're just caring for each symptom individually and you don't look at the bigger picture and try and the underlying problem, the actual illness, and try to solve that, so then you're just covering it up by trying to cover up and quiet the different symptoms. That's not going to work. That's going to be a very short-term solution. There were serious issues in Emunah. And the solution is not to try to force everyone through decrees to follow the word of Hashem. So what is the proper solution? It's actually maybe even a kiruv movement, okay, in the times of Chizkiyahu and Yoshiyahu. Meaning, It has to come from the heart. It has to be with love. Otherwise, you have to teach people why they should be doing things, not just tell them if you do it, you'll be punished. It'll be destroyed. The officials will come in and get rid of it. It's not going to do it. You have to teach them. Otherwise, you force the nation to comply, but it won't last. And it didn't. And we see this all the time today. We see things trying to be forced, but as soon as another government comes in, it gets swapped out. We have this in all different kinds of areas, also in the secular world and also in other countries. But I want to try to focus on us for a moment. There's so many ways that this is a crucial point, and we're still very, very much missing it in every segment of Jewish society today. So the question is, where do you see it in Jewish society? Where can we try to fix it in a proper way through chinuch? No one today is exempt from the implications of this message.